Welcome to miniatures.de, your military miniatures magazine. In this issue, we are going to convert damaged 1:76 scale Airfix American Civil War infantry into casualty markers for wargames. Popular wargame rules often require markers to indicate which units are pinned, shaken, or disordered in a particular turn of the simulation. Color-coded cardboard counters are often recommended for this purpose, but they are just too ugly to deploy alongside beautifully painted troops. When Fire and Fury came out in 1990, Richard Hasenauer pioneered the idea of using painted and individually based casualty figures to mark regiments or batteries as disordered or silenced. This clever idea caught on so quickly that manufacturers began offering casualty figures to be mounted on disordered or silenced markers. Of course, soft plastic miniatures are so easy to convert that virtually any pose can be turned into a convincing casualty figure. The Airfix American Civil War figures you see here are suffering from plastic corrosion, also known as brittling. They have become glassy to the touch and will break if they are bent. We would not want them in any wargame regiment, but they make perfectly good casualty figures to be mounted on protective bases. The more brittle these figures are, the easier it will be to snap limbs and heads off the torso so that the parts may be assembled again later. Now we apply acrylic fiber gel to a base just large enough to hold a prone casualty and protect the figure from touch. The acrylic gel will hold the parts in place, and it gives us a textured base, which will be fun to paint and dry brush later. First, the torso is pressed firmly into the fiber gel, making sure that it reaches the surface of the base but lies flat on the gel. Now the limbs are placed on the gel and arranged in such a way that the prone figure looks as relaxed as possible. In this case, we've chosen to turn the legs out until both feet are flat on the ground. Another option would be to turn one foot out and the other in, whatever works best with the parts we have at hand. Using the tip of the scalpel, we can push the parts around on the gel until we find a pose that seems to work. That done, any excess gel is carefully drawn away until the miniature appears to be prone on the terrain, not submerged into it. Gravel may be added for extra texture, then the base is set aside to cure overnight. The rocks need to be pressed down because the gel loses a lot of volume as it dries. This Confederate sergeant has become so brittle that his head snaps off easily. To completely relax this running pose, the limbs will have to come off or the joints be broken. Again, the base is covered with acrylic fiber gel and the torso pressed firmly into the gel. Notice how the broken left arm comes to rest flat on the gel as we press the torso down. If that were not the case, the arm would have to come off, or we might build up more gel to support it. Now the head and the legs may be placed on the gel and pushed around until we find a pose that fits. Once the acrylic fiber gel has dried overnight, the casualties are securely embedded in it. Using a pulse-regulated soldering iron, we can now begin to weld these new poses together. The filler is molten plastic from the bases of these broken figures. A sliver of the base may be cut and picked up with the heated spatula, ready to be applied to the figure. Once the added material sticks to the figure, we can use the spatula to melt it further and push it into the enormous cavities we need to fill. The heated spatula allows us to sculpt the molten plastic, draw it across the entire leg, and even create new folds. Notice how the applied plastic melts into the cavity and fuses the leg to the torso again. Next, we add more molten plastic to reconstruct the missing right shoe. All we need is a small drop of plastic. The material hardens again quickly when the heat is withdrawn. Now we can apply heat again to turn this drop of plastic into the likeness of a military shoe. The Union Casualty has the seat of his trousers filled with the same grey plastic taken from the Confederate soldier's old figure base. The color of the filler does not matter in this particular case because both figures will be painted later. So this is what our converted casualty figures look like after sculpting. Painting may begin once the mold lines have been removed. Thank you for watching. For more information, you are welcome to visit our website at miniatures.de.